I made a very bad decision 15 years ago. At the time, I thought it was best for myself and my child. Since then, it has haunted me day and night. To give you an idea of why I made such a serious decision, I'm a Polish national. I'm from the countryside of Poland where they're extremely racist, especially towards black people. I came to England to study interior design. My then Polish boyfriend, Bogdan, owned a construction company. He financed my college course and living accommodation in the UK. At college, I met Floyd, a black guy from the Caribbean. I fell deeply in love with him. It was different from what I was used to. I grew up with a negative impression towards black people. I also met his friends and family, and they're vibrant people, full of energy and very accepting of all races. That wasn't what I expected. Before I started dating Floyd, I explained that I was in a relationship with someone from my country. That didn't stop him from pursuing me. I met Floyd in my first week in the UK. We started dating a few months after I started college and continued until the end of the 3 years I spent in the UK. I occasionally returned to Poland to see Bogdan, or sometimes he would come and spend time with me in England. I found out I was pregnant just before the end of my course. I knew the child was for Floyd because Bogdan had fertility issues. I had no idea what to do. I kept avoiding Bogdan's calls for 3 weeks while Floyd and I discussed how to proceed. My head was all over the place. I didn't even want to imagine Bogdan's reaction if he found out, because he can be very abusive, especially when he's drunk. I made the decision to abort the pregnancy and go back to Poland because I couldn't keep avoiding Bogdan's calls. I met up with Floyd to discuss my decision. I knew he wasn't going to like it, but what would I tell Bogdan? I can't tell him it's his, because he's got fertility issues, and I dare not tell him it's not his, otherwise he'll beat me to death. That's what led me to the decision that I made. When I explained to Floyd why I wasn't prepared to keep the pregnancy, he didn't take it very well. He begged me to reconsider. I really wish the situation were different because I really loved him, but Bogdan had invested so much in me. If you find this story interesting so far, please show your support by giving it a thumbs up, commenting, sharing, or even considering subscribing. It helps the algorithm recognize us. Thanks a lot. To cut a long story short, when I went back to my apartment, Bogdan was outside waiting for me. He wasn't looking happy. I tried to avoid going inside with him, but he put his hand around my waist and ushered me inside. He immediately started to choke and punch me. I fell on the floor and he kicked me in my stomach. I vomited up the meal I had earlier. I said to him, "Kick me in my gut and eliminate it and get it over with." That's when he asked me why I didn't tell him that I was expecting. I replied, "I'm not keeping it. I don't want my child to grow up and witness its father beating its mother every day." He started crying and apologizing. To my relief, he said he'd been undergoing multiple treatments to make it possible to be a father. That's how desperate he was. Bogdan was excited to be a father. He was convinced that the treatment had worked, and that caused doubt in my mind as to who the father was. We had a long chat about our future, and I decided to keep it. He wanted me to return to Poland, but I told him that I would like to remain in England and give birth so the child could have dual citizenship. I told Floyd that I had planned to abort the pregnancy and go back to Poland, but in fact, Bogdan had planned to rent a flat outside London for me to stay. Floyd's reply was, "Go back to what? The slaps and kicks? Haven't you had enough?" But after seeing Bogdan crying and the talk we had, I didn't think he would abuse me again. That's how naive I was, thinking the beating would go away. Bogdan wanted to know my due date. I gave him a made-up date to prevent him from being there for the birth. Can you imagine if he's there and the baby comes out black? I also didn't reveal that it was a boy. This is where I want you to listen very carefully. On the day of my delivery, I befriended a mixed-race mother-to-be. Her name was Eva. She told me that her partner was also mixed race. They could pass as white. She asked if I knew the sex of my baby. I told her that I thought it's a boy, but the scan was inconclusive, so I wasn't 100% sure. They wanted to keep theirs as a surprise. We were both having contractions at the same time. The midwife told me to push. I could also hear the midwife on the other side telling Eva to push, but I wasn't putting my all in it. I wanted us to give birth around the same time. I heard her baby cry, and that's when I started pushing like hell. The pain was excruciating. Not even Bogdan's beatings can compare to it. Breath, 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 big push. Finally, I gave birth to a boy, as expected. Then came the chaos. Apparently, Eva had passed out during birth. The nurses and doctors on the ward were in a frantic rush. This made it easier for me. In the midst of all the mayhem, I dragged myself over to the incubator where the babies were kept. I looked at my son. I could see a slight resemblance to Floyd. I could see the difference in their skin complexion. I made sure no one saw me. With a heavy heart and tears in my eyes, I kissed him on his forehead and swapped the name tags. I went back to Poland after giving birth. I kept in touch with Eva. She was my new best friend. I even told her about my regular beating sessions with Bogdan. She encouraged me to leave him, but I became too reliant on him. Not a day passed without me thinking about my son. After a decade and many more sessions of all types of abuse from Bogdan, I left him and returned to the UK. I wasted no time meeting up with Eva. When I saw my son, it was like seeing a younger version of Floyd. I asked Eva if she was related to a guy called Floyd. She asked me, "Who's Floyd?" I replied, "A black guy whom I dated. Your son Jarrell resembles him." Eva laughed and said, "Funnily enough, we always joke that he doesn't resemble either of us." I said, "What if it's actually true?" "No," Eva replied. She asked to see a photo of Floyd. She looked at the photo and covered her mouth in disbelief. "How could this be?" I replied, "Is it possible when you passed out after giving birth and all the medical staff were trying to resuscitate you, they made a mistake?" Her eyes started getting teary. "Are you saying our child might be your child?" "Yes, and mine yours possibly because we gave birth next to each other." Eva's partner, Jerry, came home. He saw the tears in her eyes and asked her why she was crying. She showed him the photo and explained what we had talked about. He didn't want to believe it, but he was curious. He told me to arrange a meetup with Floyd. I met up with Floyd separately. I explained the situation to him and asked him not to mention anything about me planning to abort the pregnancy. I didn't tell him about the swap. Some secrets are best kept a secret. I just told him what he needed to know, that he might be a father. Even though I knew he was overjoyed. Myself, Eva, Jerry, and Floyd met up and discussed the situation. We decided to run some tests. The test came back positive. Our next challenge was to break it to our teenage kids. It was a shock for them, but they understood. The hospital took responsibility and compensated us generously. I felt so guilty within myself. Floyd wanted us to get back together. He was in an on and off relationship. I told him to sort himself out, then we can see what happens. My biggest challenge was yet to come, forming a bond with my son. I used the money from the hospital to buy a house around the corner from Eva and Jerry. That made the transition easier for the kids and ourselves. I'm not sure how Bogdan will react when he finds out that he's still not a dad, but I know it won't be good. For now, I'm free from always being on the edge and all the beatings. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more insightful content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stop violence against women, girls, and boys.